whenever I miss church, I miss church. Whenever I miss church, and I can do something about that, right? Just get myself up and come to church. Whenever I miss church, I've got control over that. And sometimes you can't come to church because you're not feeling well. And this pandemic. Well, that's Freudian, isn't it? Yeah. During this virus thing that we're going through, we're in a place where we're sheltering. We're not going places. And this whole virus shut-in that we find ourselves in is really forcing us in some ways to be much more alone. And that's why there's sort of a homing beacon that goes off in our brains, those of us who are Christians, to say, I need to go to church, I want to go to church, because we really need to. And so today, you're here. But whenever you miss church, I really miss church. You know what I mean? I really miss church because something is missing that I need. Something that is necessary for me is just not there. And it's harder to journey through this life without it. For 7 weeks, we didn't have church. Now, we had church. We didn't have church, but we had church. We were streaming on Facebook. And sometimes we were doing that with just 3 people in this building, and that was strange. We were having church, but it wasn't that church. And I was missing church. I was missing that connection. And I've been giving a lot of thought about why I miss church. Not the first one. Because, I have control over the first one. Because I can just come to church. But when I don't come to church and I don't feel that connection in church, I really miss it. That's what I've been thinking about. Why do I miss church? I think one of the reasons I miss church is that I know that life moves me in a place where I am out of alignment with God. Where my priorities and my thoughts and what's going on inside of me, some of the baggage that I'm carrying, and some of the gritty stuff that's going on inside of me, all that kind of stuff puts me out of alignment with God. It's not where I should be. It makes me who I'm not supposed to be. It just really puts me in a place where my head's just not on straight. And I need alignment. And I think that's one of the things that I miss when I miss church, is that alignment with Jesus. To getting myself in alignment. Now, as I was thinking through this, I sort of listened to my own voice saying these things in my head, and I thought to myself, that sounds a little self-oriented, right? I miss church because of me, myself, and I. Right? Me. Yeah. Of course I say, and God. I say, and God, but really, it's just that self-focus, isn't it? I miss church because of me. And the failure to understand that missing church is more than just me, myself, and I is an important idea for each and every one of us. If we want to journey through this life the way that God wants us to. 7 weeks, we did Facebook church. I think I want to copyright it. Facebook church. Has anybody done that? Is that taken? Facebook church? It felt to me like it's Facebook church. Because, it took me about a week to figure out how to, start recording on Facebook, Once we figured that out, and we started streaming on Facebook, then I saw something that was really interesting. It really captured my imagination because I don't know if you've seen the screen, like then people start, commenting. They start sending messages. And they kind of roll up the side of the screen, and I'm here. Here's John King checking in. I'm with you. Hi, I'm so good to be with my spiritual family. We get all these messages going, and I'm thinking, I just want to sit here and watch these. I don't want to get up there and say anything in front of the camera. And then the emojis. Aren't those cool? Those emojis like happy faces and hearts just flying all around the screen. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But in all of that Facebook church, and all those messages, and all those emojis, and all the warm, fuzzy feelings that gave me, I still felt that there was something vital that was missing. Because I don't know that, hi, I'm here, it's so wonderful to see you, a few hearts and a few smiley face emojis is going to help me with that thing that's missing. Missing church. And what's missing is being together. You see, there's a whole additional aspect to missing church beyond me, myself, and I. And that is the being together. And I think sometimes we fail to appreciate how important that is. In fact, I believe that some people have never experienced what that together is supposed to be. Because I think you can come to church and you can be here and you can watch everything that's going on and not really connect into the together. We can come to church and we can get a great word. We can sing songs that we like, and we can feel like me, myself, and I just really got tickled and touched. But what about the together part? There's a together part. And I don't know. I just felt it here last Sunday, the together part, right? We had not been together in 7 weeks, and people came in the doors pumped. When the praise band started the first song, and Kathy, just sort of introduced the song and roused us up, right? And I started hearing people singing. I turned around and said, who is this here? Was it just me, or was it louder?
Yes.
Was it bigger? Was there more emotion going on here, right? Did you feel the anger and the angst against all those social distancing guidelines? The things that you couldn't do when you walked in the door. I'm telling you, a squirt of hand sanitizer doesn't make up for a handshake. And standing there and waving at somebody 6 feet away, and it's a dance, right? There's this no, I can't. It's a shuffle going on. Like, am I far enough away? Hi, how you doing? It's not the same. Last Sunday, we bulldozed through the social distancing guidelines. We kept them. But we just came in, got the hand sanitizer, came in here, alternated seats. I've noticed that some of you have a little trouble with that alternating seats. What that means is there needs to be a blank one in front of you and behind you. But after a while, everybody had that figured out, okay? It was sat down. And in that moment, we were able to connect and be together over that 6-foot barrier. And that's a beautiful thing. That was a wonderful thing to experience. You see, we need to be connected to each other. Because our life is more than just aligning ourselves with Jesus. Because Jesus didn't put us in this world alone. We have to align ourselves with each other. We align ourselves with God. We're followers of Jesus. But we have to understand that the thing that Jesus Christ came to this world to build was this thing that we call church. And what is this church? It's a together organism. It's something that springs out of us organically when we come to faith in Jesus Christ. We look around and we realize that the people around us are people that God loves too. And we know that there's a connection between us, even though we don't know one another very well. And I want to tell you that this togetherness that happens with us in the church, it's something that connects to us on a level and helps us do some very important and necessary things in our lives. And that is to find out what our purpose is. How many of you got a handle on the purpose that God had given your life? And who helped you do that? I'm sure it wasn't a sunset on one beautiful late afternoon, but it was someone else, probably a Christian friend, someone that's close to you. And maybe it was the time they spent to you. Maybe it's the time they listened to you. But in that whole process, you got a sense that helped you focus in on this sense inside of you that God had given you a special purpose. And if you have followed that, you realize that you needed some help to be equipped to pursue that purpose. Because we don't come ready-made with everything we need and everything that we need to know to accomplish our purpose. And that's really why He is children, parents, right? And it's why God gives Christians the church. Because it's in that church is where we begin to receive the wisdom of others and the directions of others to be equipped to accomplish the calling that we have. Because everyone who pursues a calling has failures. It doesn't all work out real well. But what happens is that together, and what we are given and receive, and the encouragement and help that we get from others in the church, we are equipped. And we are impelled forward. The first Christians, they understood this idea of together. They knew that church was more than just me, myself, and I. In Acts chapter 2, after the day of Pentecost, and after this large group of people were baptized into the faith of Jesus Christ, we have this description in Acts chapter 2 where it says, and these people, all strangers, they didn't know one another. They were not connected. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to learn about Jesus. The apostles were the disciples. Those guys who had been with Jesus, knew Jesus, could tell the stories of Jesus. They devoted themselves to hearing what the disciples would say and tell them about Jesus and to the fellowship. You see, that's kind of church work, right? You go to work, and you have a break room, and you go in there, and you sit down and have lunch, etc. And someone asks you, where have you been? I was having lunch in the break room. You talk to a Christian after they've had a worship service, and there was a bunch of food out here, right? We're waiting for that day when we can start the food. But you go over there and you have some food, and you're like, well, you were intending to be home at about 5:45. It's 6:30, and maybe someone says, well, where you been so long? You say, no, I was fellowship in the church. It's a unique word, isn't it? Churches have fellowship dinners. When people get together, they say they're fellowshipping. When they build a building where they do those kind of things, what do they call them? Fellowship halls, right? Yeah. It's interesting how these first Christians, they devoted themselves to hearing everything they could about Jesus and to being together in this fellowship. It says all the believers were together and had everything in common. They shared themselves and their lives to meet the needs of one another. And it says every day But every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts, and they met in their homes. And what grew? What grew was the me, myself, and I relationship with Jesus. That grew. But what also grew was the together. The together. Because when they came together, they aligned themselves with Jesus, and together they helped one another in that journey that we call life. This is the way that Jesus changes lives. And that's really the theme of what I've been talking to you in the past few weeks. And that theme of Jesus changes lives. And the way he changes lives is that he impacts us personally. And we are impacted by being together with other Christians. We are impacted by church. Now today I want to, and I've been looking at the lives that Jesus changed and looking primarily at the disciples that followed him. And today I want to introduce to you another disciple whose lives Jesus radically changed. And his name is John. Now, you guys have been intrigued by these pictures that I've been getting of the disciples. These are authentic pictures taken during the ministry of Jesus, right? I'm showing you these pictures because I think the picture is capturing something about these characters in their life and what they went through. And I have to tell you, I showed you the picture of Peter. He was kind of a rugged-looking guy. He looks like someone who's been working on a fishing boat, right? But I showed you Andrew. He was good-looking, right? Good looking. Showed you Matthew. He was good looking. Yeah. Today I'm showing you John. And this is an odd picture. But I'm going to explain to you more about that in just a few minutes. Who was John? John had a brother named James. And both of them became followers of Jesus. John and James. In fact, they were cousins of Jesus. Jesus' mother Mary's sister, Salome, was the mother of James and John. So not only were they disciples of Jesus, they were also blood, right? I would imagine that there were times when they were growing up that those boys were together and spent time together. I mean, they had a connection. And James and John and another fisherman by the name of Peter, that we've already talked about, the three of them formed this inner circle that was closest to Jesus. They were closest to Jesus, and the Bible says, and of those three, John was the one that Jesus loved. He was the closest to Jesus. Now they were, being the inner circle, were almost always around Jesus. They were the center of a lot of the things that Jesus did. And there were times when Jesus would go off by himself to pray or to get away or had something in mind to do, and he would ask the three inner circle to go with him. John was one of those three. When all the other disciples ran away, when Jesus was arrested and he was being tried, it was John who got into the trial. He was actually there. Peter stayed outside, but John went in to be there present when Jesus was tried. When Jesus was being crucified on the cross, we don't know where a lot of those disciples were. The Bible doesn't mention, but we know that John was right there near Jesus because Jesus spoke to him. John was there with Jesus' mother, and Jesus said, "Take care of my mom. Take care of my mom." John was one of the first disciples to run with Peter to the tomb. The Bible says that when he saw the grave clothes that were laying there and that Jesus was gone, that he believed that Jesus had risen. He was a part of that inner circle, that the three closest to Jesus. But when Jesus, after Easter, when he left, when he ascended into heaven, what happened to the inner circle? What happened to the three? You see, when Jesus left, his circle got bigger. His circle got bigger so that his life was more than just Peter, James, and John, and Jesus. His life was more than the expectation that everybody said, well, Jesus is, he hangs with them, most of the time. But when Jesus left, then John's circle enlarged. His circle went outward. It wasn't an inner circle anymore, it was an outer circle. It was then, in the years that followed, that John stepped up to be a leader of this new church, this new movement to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. He stepped up as a leader along with Peter. He was there and stepping forward and speaking, and he was there being thrown in jail like Peter and being questioned about what he was doing. He was the one that was on the forefront of leadership, that was reaching out beyond the boundaries of Jerusalem and their nation. He stepped up as a leader, and he let his circle get larger. The reason I'm telling you this is that it's really easy for us to get in that me, myself, and I mode. It's just about me. It's just about Jesus. Where I am with Jesus. And it would be really easy for John to get caught up in that, wouldn't it? It really would have. Because he was so close. But when Jesus commissioned his disciples to begin looking outward, to take the message of Jesus beyond it, then that circle enlarged. That's one of the challenges that each and every one of us really have. And that's to enlarge our circle beyond me, myself, and I. So that we realize that our connection with Jesus is the center of who we are. But it's also this connection together that we need to connect with a larger circle. And that's tough for some of us. It's really tough for guys. Because, most guys don't have any friends. Have you noticed that? They don't have any friends. Who's your best friend? My wife. I think, that's wife. Not friend. You go home and you tell her, oh, I've been looking so forward to seeing you. You're my friend. And she's going to be looking at you saying, it needs to be more, right? Yeah, it needs to be more. God has made us in such a way that we need together. We need others. And that in this connection of people around us, and especially our Christian friends and the connections that we have, this is where God does so much work. So much work. I got to tell you, these last 7 weeks, it's kind of been hard on me. Can you tell? Kind of been a paradigm change that I don't like. We'll go to my grave not accepting, right? but these last 7 weeks, I've seen something, maybe one of the most meaningful things that I have seen as a pastor in church. I pastored a number of congregations. And never did we have a pandemic like we have. Never have we had to take the steps of not having church, sheltering at home, disconnecting. I mean, it just goes against the grain of all of these Christian forces, all of these faith forces that are going on inside of us. Because what it's doing is making it harder for us to have fellowship. Not making it impossible, harder. And I knew that when we weren't going to be able to get together and worship, I was concerned about us staying together and connected. And I have to tell you, I've really been amazed at what I saw happen. I really thought that I probably needed to send out a few emails, to some of our top leaders and influencers in our congregation saying, you really need to keep in touch with people. You need to find some ways, talk to them, get some phone calls, see how you can connect, use social media and those kind of things. And I realized that before I ever got around to sending one of those emails, people were doing that like crazy. And I was just amazed at what I saw you guys doing on social media. A lot of people post stuff on Facebook. They're kind of silly, right? Just funny, goofy stuff, right? Yeah. Well, did you see a shift 7 weeks ago on all that funny, goofy, silly stuff? Now, I'm glad some of it was still funny, goofy, and silly, but it took a ton of seriousness, wasn't it? And what was it? That wasn't me, myself, and I. That was about together. And what was happening is that the boundaries and barriers of this pandemic, you were finding ways to reach across that without breaking the 6-foot rule. Can't break the 6-foot rule. But you're finding ways to reach out beyond that. I never even heard of Zoom before this pandemic hit. And now, it's just, everybody's doing it, right? It's one of the major ways that people have been connecting. Our women have a Bible study. You got like 25 women on a Zoom screen, like postage stamps, just so small, so many of them. And you ought to hear the conversation in this, I'm not allowed in to hear this, anything like that. It's behind doors, but I hear what's coming out through the door.
He's standing there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But it's that fellowship connection. And then why was that happening? It wasn't because I was telling you that we sat down and had this huge strategy, like, what are we going to do, and implement that, and you do this. It wasn't any of that. See, this is that fellowship connection of the church, where it just happens because you long to know what's going on and to be connected with the people that are in that circle. This pandemic actually enabled us to turn our circle outward, didn't it? Really did. It really did. Back to the picture of John. This picture was taken toward the end of his life. But seriously, John outlived all the other disciples. He lived well into his 90s. And toward the end of his life, he had outlived all the other disciples, and all the other disciples had been martyred and killed for their faith except him. He was the last one. And the Roman emperor, who was offended and didn't like his teachings, exiled him on the island of Patmos, one of the Greek islands. Now, the reason that you exile somebody is that you're going to hack a whole lot of people off if you just kill them. So you just send them to some place where they can just sort of like rot and die. And that's what the Roman emperor had done to John. Send him to Patmos. This is a barren place. It's one of those islands, those Greek islands. And there's not much on the island. And so John lived beside a cave. And, it was a survivor life. They didn't have a cafeteria. Nobody came by and, brought him food or anything like that. He had to search and scavenge on his own. This island's small. It's about 15 miles across in either direction. And from this island, I can imagine John standing there on the shore and looking at this endless ocean around him. No matter where he traveled on the island, he could stand there and he could look off in the distance. And all he could see is water. And no way to get off of this place of exile. And while he was there, God gave him a revelation. That book we know of as Revelation. And if you start reading the first part of the book of Revelation, the book of Revelation starts telling you about 7 churches. Maybe you haven't heard of them, like Ephesus, Thyatira, Smyrna. All of these are actual cities that had churches. And so in this Revelation, God is telling John about what's happening in those churches, about the things that they have done so well to stand up for the testimony of Jesus Christ, and some things that they were struggling with, and some problems, and some word of warning, the good news and the bad news. And this Revelation walks down and talks about these 7 churches. Now here's what you probably don't know. If you stand on the shore of Patmos and you look to the east, you are 65 miles away from all 7 of those churches, which is just across the water. All of those churches are kind of clustered in a circle, right there. So I want you to look at his eyes. I want you to imagine seeing him on the shore. Look at that face. He's looking, imagine him looking across those waters and living a life all alone, separated from the friends and the people and the churches that he has shared his life with for 50 years. Not having any news, not knowing what's going on with them. And what is God saying? He's telling John, he's saying, I'm watching these places. My spirit is with these places. I'm taking care of these places. I can just imagine the comfort that revelation gave John as he stood on the shore and looked across the waters. And then as the revelation that God gave John unfolds, in Revelation chapter 21, he says, and then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the old heaven and the old earth had passed away. There was something brand new. And the scripture says, and there was no longer any sea. The sea was gone. The sea that separated him from his connection with all of those churches, with all of those people. The sea. The sea is what disconnects all of us from one another. I mean, how can it be that we can be so focused on being close to Jesus, me, myself, and I, but not take seriously the other stuff? How can that be? See? It's the chaos. It's the confusion. It's everything in life that keeps us separated from each other. But God is telling John, he says, I'm making all things new. And in this new that I'm making, it's not going to be any more sea. It's not going to be any more disconnection between God's people. There's not going to be any more disconnection between us and between God. So when I miss church, and I miss church, what I'm missing not only that connection with Jesus, which is so powerful when we're here, but I am missing that connection with all of you. Because I need you and we need each other. And what God is promising is that I am working to eliminate the seed. You know what the mission of the church is? Get rid of the darn seed. Right? Isn't that it? You know, I could just go on to a whole other sermon here about the way we let waves and tides and all this kind of stuff that go on between us to separate us. But the church stands in a place where the ocean is being eliminated. And we do our best. And there's always some disconnection that's going on. But I want to have that something that's going on in that picture, in that guy's eyes. I want that going on inside of me saying, one day the sea's going to be gone. One day we're going to be together. One day we are going to experience what God always meant for us to have and be, and that is with Him and together. So, why did we try to start having services as soon as we could? So we could be together. I want to thank you for really cooperating and helping so much to make it possible for us to have our services together with the social distancing. Because I know some of you just killing you not to give one another a hug, right? Just killing you, right? And I don't know how long that this is going to last. But I believe that we can still be together and keep the 6-foot rule. So I am so thankful we can be together here because today I'm not missing church and I'm not missing church. And I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to really work on this together today. Okay? Really work on this together today. There's some people that are close to you that if you just kind of open the door, some wonderful things would happen between you and them. Something you wouldn't expect. Something that would be more profound than you even imagined. Because you see, that's what Jesus says happens in church. And one of the things that He's doing right now, the major job of Jesus right now, is building a church. That's cool. He's building the Spirit of life. That's even cooler. And it's more than just me, myself, and I. It's all of us together.